operating systems past and present. As a PC support technician, you should be aware of the older and current operating systems and how they have evolved over the years. DOS, Disk Operating System. In 1981, MS-DOS, also known as DOS, was introduced and quickly became the most popular OS among IBM computers and IBM-compatible computers using the Intel 8086 processors. DOS processed 16 bits at a time. Figure A1 shows a computer screen using the DOS operating system. In those days, all computer screens used text and no graphics. As amazing as it might seem, old legacy applications that use the DOS operating system are still in use today. In fact, I still support one I wrote over 20 years ago that is used to track over 1,000 entries in a huge annual horse show. The owners have the attitude, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. DOS with Windows 3.x. Early versions of Windows, including Windows 3.1 and Windows 3.2, collectively referred to as Windows 3.x, didn't perform OS functions, but served as a user-friendly intermediate program between DOS applications and the user. See Figure 8.2. Windows 3.x offered a graphical user interface, the Windows desktop, the Windows concept, and the ability to keep more than one application open at the same time. Windows 9x/Me, Windows 95, Windows 98, and Windows Me, collectively called Windows 9x/Me, use some DOS programs as part of the underlying OS, called a DOS core, and therefore had some DOS characteristics. However, these were true operating systems that could process 16 or 32 bits at a time and handle 16-bit and 32-bit applications. Windows NT and Windows 2000. Windows NT, new technology, completely rewrote the OS core, totally eliminating the DOS core. Windows NT did all processing using 32 bits and was a major advance in OS architecture. Windows 2000 was an upgrade of Windows NT and offered several improvements, including a more stable environment, better network support, and features specifically targeting notebook computers. Microsoft didn't target Windows NT or 2000 to the home computer and game computer markets and did not make a commitment for Windows NT/2000 to be backward compatible with older software and hardware. Therefore, Windows 9x/Me lived on until Windows XP. Windows XP is an upgrade of Windows 2000 and attempted to integrate Windows 9x/Me in 2000, while providing added support for multimedia and networking technologies. Windows XP is the first Windows OS to allow multiple users to log on simultaneously to the OS, each with their own applications open. Although Windows XP was first released with some bugs, the second Service Pack 2, resolved most of these problems. XP underwent 3 service packs. It is an extremely stable OS and was popular in both the home and corporate markets. The Windows XP desktop, see Figure A3, has a different look from the desktops for earlier Windows. The 2 main editions were Windows XP Home Edition and Windows XP Professional, though other less significant editions included Windows XP Media Center Edition, Windows XP Tablet PC Edition, and Windows XP Professional x64 Edition. Because many people and corporations decided to not upgrade from XP to Windows Vista, Microsoft was forced to extend support for XP long past their initial time frame. Microsoft no longer provides mainstream support to individuals for XP, but is still providing extended support to corporations until April 2014. This extended support includes technical advice and releasing new security patches. Windows Vista, an upgrade to Windows XP, was the first Windows OS to use the Arrow user interface. The Windows Vista desktop shown in Figure A4 uses this interface. Notice the Vista sidebar on the right side of the desktop contains some Vista gadgets. A gadget is a mini app that you can add or remove from the sidebar by clicking the plus sign at the top left of the sidebar. Vista was not well received by consumers primarily because of the lack of compatibility with older hardware and software, called legacy hardware and software, the large amount of computer resources that Vista requires, and its slow performance. The FireST problem is partly caused by hardware manufacturers not providing Vista drivers for their devices that were originally sold with XP drivers. The second problem means that many low-end desktop and laptop computers can't run Vista. And the slow performance of Vista is partly due to the many unnecessary features, FLF, it offers. These features weigh heavy on system resources. Vista comes in 5 versions: Windows Vista Home Basic, Home Premium, Business, Enterprise, and Ultimate. Vista Starter is a 6th version available only to developing nations. Also, Vista comes in 32-bit versions and 64-bit versions. Vista underwent 2 service packs, and Microsoft no longer provides mainstream support for the OS. Microsoft is still providing extended support, advice and security patches, to corporations for Vista Business and Enterprise editions through April 2017. Windows 7 Windows 7, the upgrade to Windows Vista, is the most current Windows desktop operating systems by Microsoft. Windows 7 solved many problems inherent in Vista, it performs better than Vista, is more compatible with legacy hardware and software, and provides a leaner and simpler user interface. Windows 7 introduced Home Groups, the Action Center, and Windows XP Mode. Windows XP Mode is an environment useful for running legacy applications that work under XP but not under Windows 7. Windows 8. The next Microsoft desktop OS is codenamed Windows 8, and is likely to be released by the time this book is in print. It has a tiled desktop designed especially for touchscreens and a touchscreen keyboard. Windows 8 is designed to work on a wide range of devices, from a powerful workstation to a smartphone. A smartphone is a mobile phone that has computing power, an installed operating system, and small applications called apps. Mac OS. Currently, the Mac OS, which has its roots in the Unix OS, is available only on Macintosh computers from the Apple Corporation, www.apple.com. The Mac and the Mac OS were FireST introduced in 1984. The latest OS is Mac OS X 10, which has had several releases. The latest release is called Mac OS X Lion. Figure A5 shows the Mac OS X Lion desktop with a browser open. Notes Boot Camp software by Apple can be used to install Windows on a Mac computer as a dual boot with Mac OS X. To keep from having to restart the Mac each time you want to switch from one OS to another, virtual machine software, such as VMware, www.vmware.com, is used. The software creates a virtual machine, VM, which is a logical computer within a physical computer. The VM has its own virtual hard drive, and Windows can be installed in this virtual environment on the VM's hard drive. A user can switch from the Mac OS to Windows by opening a VM window on the Mac OS desktop. You learn more about virtual machines in Chapter 7. Currently, about 10% of personal computers sold today are Macs. Macs have been popular in the educational, graphics, and musical markets and are beginning to gain ground in both the corporate and home markets because Macs are stable and fun to use, costs are down, software is more available, and the iPad is acting like a magnet to bring more Macs into the corporate market. Figure A5. The Mac OS X Lion desktop and applications. Notes. You can learn more about the Mac OS by reading the content introducing the Mac OS on this book's companion website at www.cengagebrain.com. See the preface for more information. Linux is a variation of Unix that was created by Linus Torvalds when he was a student at the University of Helsinki in Finland. Versions of this OS are available for free, and all the underlying programming instructions, called source code, are also freely distributed. Like Unix, Linux is distributed by several different companies, whose versions of Linux are sometimes called distributions. Popular distributions of Linux include Ubuntu, www.ubuntu.com, Fedora, fedoraproject.org, Red Hat, www.redhat.com, Puppy Linux, puppylinux.org, and Linux Mint, linuxmint.com. Linux is well suited to support various types of server applications such as a web server or email server. It is not as popular for a desktop OS because it is not easy to install or use and fewer Linux applications exist, as compared to those written for Windows or the Mac OS. A Linux is also used on netbooks because it requires fewer system resources than Windows. A technician would say it has a small footprint. Linux is an excellent training tool for learning Unix. A shell is the portion of an OS that relates to the user and to applications. The first Linux and Unix shells consisted of commands entered at a command prompt. Two popular command line shells for Unix and Linux are the older Bourne shell and the newer Bourne Again shell, BASH. But many users prefer a Windows-style GUI desktop operating systems used on mobile devices. A major evolution of operating systems is the operating systems used on smartphones, handheld tablets, or other mobile devices. A handheld tablet is a computing device that has a touch screen, installed operating system that can support simple or complex apps, touchscreen keyboard, and wireless capability. Some handheld tablets are also smartphones. The operating system for a mobile device is installed at the factory. Here are the more popular ones. Android OS, distributed by Google. Android.com, is based on Linux and is used on various smartphones and tablets. Currently, Android is the most popular OS for smartphones. iOS by Apple, Apple.com, is based on Mac OS X and is used on the iPhone and iPad by Apple. BlackBerry OS by RIM, RIM.com, is a proprietary OS used on devices built by RIM. Windows Phone by Microsoft, Microsoft.com, is based on Windows and is used on devices made by Dell, Fujitsu, Nokia, Samsung, and others. The Symbian OS from the Symbian Foundation, Symbian.org, is popular outside the United States and is used on devices made by multiple manufacturers, including Nokia, Samsung, Sony, and others. That will be all in this CTech episode. Tune into next Monday for Windows Vista. This appendix covers the major differences between Windows 7 and Windows Vista. The content here applies to several chapters in the book. After you learn about Windows 7 in a chapter, turn to this appendix to learn how Windows Vista differs. We love you all. Thanks for watching CTech. Thank you for watching CTech, and make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell icon so you won't miss any future episodes of CTech.